Seriously? We're here! Is this what pudding or haggis? Hello, welcome to a new vlog, and we are in Scotland. We actually arrived last night, and it was such a long night. Like, our flight from Schiphol was at like 9:30, and then we arrived in Glasgow at around 10:30, and before you know it, it's like past midnight. Anyways, this morning we took a 4-hour train ride from Glasgow to a stop that's closest to Steall Falls, and that's where we are right now. And apparently Cameron's mom told me that the Steall Falls was also in Harry Potter, so that's kind of cool. So we finished with our hike and we checked into our hotel, and now we're just going to do something easy for dinner. We're at Morrison's and just like getting something from the grocery store. We're also stocking up for a takeaway lunch tomorrow, so we've got some sandwich ingredients. So here is my dinner tonight. Basically 2 cans of soup and a pepper. Hi, we hired a taxi to drive us to this castle right here. I think it's called Eilean. And wow, that taxi ride was like an hour and a half, and it was like the longest ride ever. The terrain was like this, and it was just so much like stop and go, and it was hard to keep my food down. But we're finally here, and we're about to go into the castle.
This is the bridge to Skye up here, just in front of us.
So we drove about 1.5 hours from the castle to this hiking trail. We're going to see Old Man of Storr, which is probably one of the most famous sites in Scotland. And I totally knocked out for the whole hour and a half, and I actually feel like refreshed. Look at this 360 view. Like, that is seriously just out of a calendar or something. But yeah, the weather today is just absolutely perfect. These steps totally remind me of the grouse grind in Vancouver. The grouse grind is straight up like 1 kilometer up. So like every step is like a huge lunge, and we had to turn around at like the 25% mark because I just couldn't handle it. But yeah, this is much easier than the grass grind. I can handle these like smaller steps, and then there's like smaller inclines, so it's much more manageable. Mark, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. Cheers.
A little pit stop. Hello, little guy. Hi. Hello. Those are the big ones. Somewhere in this pile are some haggis bites. This is probably this one, but it could also be mushroom.
Maybe we could have just done that.
Yeah.
It was hard. No, Mom wouldn't have done it. There's no
Is this
way.
haggis?
There's no way Mom would have done it. In order
This
to
is
get
a chicken.
there's this huge part of fourth.
Blood pudding. Wait, is this blood pudding or haggis? I think this is the
I think
haggis.
that's the haggis.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Good morning, it's the next day, and we're climbing Ben Nevis, which is the tallest mountain in the UK. I don't know how Cameron and Andrew convinced me to do this, but I'm trying, and I don't know if I'll be able to go up the full way, but I might just stop at the middle part and then just wait for them to come back down because they'll go all the way. But yeah, apparently super windy, super cold up there, like in the negatives. So I don't know, we'll see how I feel at the midpoint. But this is how high we are right now, and this is the path to go even higher. Well, yeah, and did I mention that this hike averages between 7 to 9 hours fully from top to bottom? Okay, so I'm just going to continue this through a voiceover because the wind sounds are just unbearable. Anyway, so when we first started on this trail, the most difficult part of it was probably the gusts of wind. Like, it was probably 60-kilometer-hour gusts of wind, and they would just come out of nowhere, and it would literally like sweep me off my feet, and I would be like struggling to walk in a straight line. And there were parts where I was just completely thrown to the side of the trail, and like the trail is not very wide. I mean, not far from the edge of the trail is just a cliff. And there were definitely times where Cameron had to make sure that I did not die. But we finally made it to the midpoint, and everyone calls this the midpoint, but like I don't think it actually is. You know, in retrospect, it's probably like 30% of the whole trail. But anyways, it was still like really nice. There's a lake here, and it was like a beautiful place to just sit down and take a break. But anyways, at this point, I had decided that I would just turn around and go back by myself. And so Cameron, Andrew, and we just had lunch there. We kind of took a break, and then they started going off themselves. And I just stared at them as they were, you know, walking further away, and they were getting smaller and smaller. And somehow in my head, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through this whole trail. And so it was probably like 15 minutes after when Cameron and Andrew already left, where I decided to try to catch up to them. And so I was really trying to make up for lost time. I wasn't running, but I was like going pretty fast. I was going as fast as I could. And you know, it's not an easy trail. But anyways, I was going as quickly as I could. And in my head, I was like, oh, it would be so funny if I just walked past them, and I wanted to see if they would even notice that I was there. And I was catching up to them. I could see them that they're, you know, getting closer and closer. But you know, I was getting tired. I am not an active person whatsoever, and it was a struggle for me, seriously. And so I started yelling for them. I was like, I was just trying to get their attention. I was yelling their names. And there was a group that was ahead of me and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I responded and I was like, "Oh, I'm totally fine." And I started getting slower and slower. And all while this was happening, the visibility was also getting much worse. Like the fog was so thick and it was so hard to see even like 10 feet ahead. And so I started getting scared. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they can't hear me. My pace is getting slower. I can barely see them anymore." And it was kind of dramatic, but I just, kept going as quickly as I could, and I kept yelling, and thankfully, finally, they heard me, and they were so shocked when they saw me. Anyways, everything worked out, and I finally caught up to them, and we kept going, and as you can see, the wind is still super crazy, visibility is still really poor, and there is snow. We got so high that there was snow, and the trail was like undistinguishable. And obviously at this point, like my boots were soaking wet and my socks were soaking wet. My hair was wet, everything was wet. And this is the part where it gets really miserable. We just kept going and, we asked a group how long it would take for us to get to the top. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it would take 30 minutes. And so, we saw a glimmer of hope. And then maybe another 15 minutes passed and another group passed us and we asked them, "Oh, like, are we getting closer?" And they're like, "Oh no, it'll probably take another 30 minutes. And then so we kept going, and then we asked another group and they were like, "Oh yeah, it'll probably take another 30 minutes. So we were like really losing hope. Anyways, we finally made it to the top after what seemed to be forever. And it was like totally not worth it because there was like no visibility whatsoever. It was completely foggy, and it was so windy. We just probably spent 5 minutes up there and we just started turning around and making our way back down. And it was, so the payoff was not there. I'd say the last 10% of the trail was the most difficult. Like at this point, I was physically and mentally depleted. My knees were burning, my calves were burning, and I was taking like half steps all the way. But we finally made it back to the bottom. Like I would never expect myself to do something like this, but I am super proud of myself to be able to say that I've climbed Ben Nevis in 7 hours, and it's just a great accomplishment. Good morning. We are at the Three Sisters, and we're currently on the hiking trail. We went down into the valley, and it's the day after climbing Ben Nevis. My legs are totally shot. Like, there's still a lot of lunging required in this trail, but yeah, I'm struggling, seriously. I feel it in my calves and my knees and my butt. It's a lot, but I think this trail is only like an hour or so. It's like 4 kilometers there and back, so it's not too bad, I guess, at least compared to yesterday. I'm really struggling. All these inclines, basically stairs. Oof. But here's the view so far. We're in the valley. We made it. There's some snow peaks right there.
I think the whole top is like that. It's that sheer rock.
We're finally making our way close to the parking lot. And all I can say is I don't want to hike for the next while. This is lunch. Okay, so we just drove from Fort William to Linlithgow for about 3 hours, and we're here at a hotel. Here's a little hotel tour. So we have our little kitchen, and we have our continental breakfast with some cereal and bread and oatmeal. There's also a fridge with some butter, eggs, milk, orange juice, and apple juice. This is so cute. And we have the main bedroom down here. It's pretty cozy with a TV. And then we go back up the stairs. We have a little sitting area. And then we go up another set of stairs to the second bedroom. This, like, it's only two of us, so that's why there's no linens here. And then we have the toilet and the bathroom. It's super clean, modern, and fresh. And that's pretty much it. It's super cute. Good morning. It is the next day, and wow, I had such a rough night last night. We didn't really have dinner, but we had like the continental breakfast in the hotel already, and so I had some of the cereal and oatmeal, and little did I know the cereal had freaking peanuts in it. Like, I'm used to like Honey Bunches of Oats, which has like almonds, and so I assumed it would be similar, and it was like Kellogg's cereal, so it's like, you know, Kellogg's usually does not have peanuts. I've had it many times before, but lo and behold, it had peanuts, and I had a really bad reaction. I don't remember the last time I had such a bad reaction. Like, initially, I felt it in my throat and my mouth, and it was like all itchy, and then I had like a stomach ache, but like I was actually in pain this time, and I puked like twice, it's been a long time since that happened, and it was so painful. It was strange. But thankfully, after I puked the second time, I guess everything came out and it ended up being fine. But it was a long night. And then this morning, we made breakfast, and now we're at Midhope Castle. I'm just walking around the forest area, but apparently this Midhope Castle is the set for Outlander in the first season or something, and Cameron's parents are really into Outlander, so we're here. But like the kids, we've never seen it, so like we don't really have an interest in this area, so we didn't want to pay admission. Anyways, Cameron and Andrew are just talking about like magic and other nerdy stuff, so I'm just here by myself. And I think we're checking out one other castle, and we're going to Edinburgh for the afternoon. Good morning from Edinburgh. We took the train in this morning from Linlithgow, and we visited the church this morning, St. Giles Cathedral, and that was really nice. It's like this beautiful Gothic style with dark cement and beautiful columns. And we are currently walking around the Royal Mile, and the next stop will be the Edinburgh Castle. So we are leaving the Edinburgh Castle. We spent about 2 hours there. I can totally see someone spending like a whole day there if they really are interested in like Scottish military and British, you know, rule and all that history. There's so many museums and displays, exhibitions. But yeah, we spent about 2 hours there, and it was interesting. It really was, and it's so big. It could be like its own commune. Like, it has its own hospital, has its own like chapel. Good morning, it is our last day in Scotland. We're going back home tonight. I skipped a day of vlogging yesterday because I just completely forgot my phone in the hotel. But anyways, yesterday we went to the National Museum of Scotland and it was free. It's such a huge building and there's so many exhibits and I can't really picture how it's free, but it was. And after that, we walked outside for a little bit. We went to the National Monument of Scotland and we also looked at this like big looking point to Arthur's Seat. And that was really nice. And there's these like beautiful yellow flowers and it looks like just something out of a movie. Anyways, for today, I'm making some breakfast and this is the same food that I've been making for Cameron and I for the past few days. We're just gonna make a grilled cheese and with some eggs. The only thing we're gonna do today is basically just hiking around Arthur's Seat. I think that should take around an hour and a half. And it may take longer because I'm still like recovering from hiking up Ben Nevis, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So sweet.